Australians of Reddit, what is the scariest encounter you've had with one of the native animals? Jesus Christ, thank you for triggering this wonderful childhood memory that I had joyfully buried deep into my subconscious until this moment. One of my childhood friends lived on a big farm in WA, and we'd spend most of the holidays staying at her place doing whatever farm related mischief 2 8-year-olds could get up to all day, then passing out like the dead. Anyway, one morning I woke up and she was sitting on the floor in the middle of the room staring at me. My immediate reaction was, what the crap are you doing? She pointed behind me at the biggest goddamn huntsman I had ever seen, a few inches from my head, just relaxing on the wall having a grand old time. I asked her why the frick she didn't poke me and get me out of bed and preferably to another planet, far away from that monstrosity, and she replied, because a minute ago it was on your face. I was sleeping in my bed and suddenly woke up for no reason. I looked around for a bit before noticing the largest huntsman spider I had ever seen in my life clinging to the ceiling right over my head, and as soon as I saw it I panicked and leaped out of bed, and not 10 seconds later the spider had dropped down onto my pillow right where my head would have been. That incident literally gave me arachnophobia. The thought of this happening to me makes me want to go jump into traffic. I had just come home after a long bicycle ride. I took my shoes off and just forgot to bring them inside afterwards. 2 days later I was about to go on another bicycle ride, so needed my shoes. I put my left one on with no problems, but felt something a little squishy when putting my foot into my right shoe. I immediately took my foot out to discover it to be covered in at least 100 baby spiders, and a larger redback spider came scuttling out of the shoe. Don't leave your shoes outside, or at the very least check them, unlike me. GAHHHH nightmare fuel. I was driving on a straight and sealed road through barren land and had not seen anything on the road or to either side for about half an hour when I had to decelerate heavily to avoid driving into a group of half a dozen emus who were startled and who scattered in all directions. I think you mean they took military action and stealthily dispersed as the enemy approached from the south. They never signed a declaration of peace. The war rages on for the evasive emu population. While I was mowing, saw a snake. Thought it was a red-bellied black snake. Get them all the time. So I took a stick and hit the ground near it to scare it off. Freaking thing arced up, hissed and charged at me. I took off. It was a tiger snake. They're aggressive bastards too. Had one rear up at me when I was looking for my ball at the golf course one day. I let him keep it. Came home from work and went to step outside to enjoy the garden when I noticed an intense buzzing. I look down and there's a spider wasp and a huntsman spider having a Godzilla, King of the Monsters showdown, wrestling all over the patio area. The spider wasp stung the huntsman into submission and dragged it over to a hole in the wall. I later learned that the spider wasp lays her eggs in the barely living body and uses it as an incubator. Nice. In another huntsman incident, the one I keep in my garage dropped into my lap from the sun visor in my car as I reversed out of my driveway. I screamed for a bit before scooping him up and popping him back in the garage. I warned him not to get in my car again. Anyone watching would have found a grown man lecturing a freaking huge spider a bit weird. I do generally like them though, hence not killing it. I've also been chased by an emu while cycling a few times. They're freaking deranged. Lived in the outback. Was just minding my own business walking past the local cinema and a 6-foot emu came running out from behind a tree and nearly knocked me down. Scared the absolute crap out of me. Follow up. Emus were not supposed to be in the township. There was a fence to keep them out, so town services had to forcibly evict it. They achieved this by driving up close to it, throwing a noose around its neck, quickly winding up the windows and slowly escorting it out of town. Bad idea. They are surprisingly strong and it kicked in the whole side of the vehicle in the process. They must have been a rebel faction from the Great Emu War. About 5 years ago I was fully envenomated by a king brown while working on a remote mine site in the Pilbara, WA. I had all sorts of side effects from the antivenin, including blindness. It took 2 years to fully recover. I'm not from Australia but lived in Brisbane for a year while studying abroad. Was walking to the bars with a friend in the evening, quite dark out even on suburb city streets, so I pulled out my smartphone camera light. Just as I do so, I pan up to rustling in a nearby tree and there is a giant bat on a tree that turns around and spreads its wings like it's Batman. We ran out of there dang fast. After that, along with spider webs, I no longer walk on sidewalks into the suburbs, even during the day. We've got tons of bats near us. They like eating the fruit in our palm trees. They are really cute and fascinate our cats, lol. Went into my shed, no lights, only to find out it was full of redbacks with webs in every corner. Now I am not scared of spiders, but holy Christ, half a bloody dozen were crawling all over me. Lucky I had some friends that were more than happy to smack them off. My usual response to people talking about burning down a building over spiders is sure, Jan, but in your case it might actually be called for. A leech attached itself to the middle of my eyeball while I was hiking in the rainforest. My friends wanted to pee on it or light a match over it, but neither solution seemed ideal, so I waited while it wiggled about, filled up with blood, and finally dropped off an hour later. The following week I went on a date with one of the guys I met on that hike, even though I still had a zombie eye from the leech bite. 10 years on, last year, he and I went back to the place where he first looked me in the eye with that leech wiggling about, and we were married in the rainforest with our friends standing by. What? Your eyeball? No. 3 dingus rolled up on me and my sisters on Fraser Island. Dad chased them off with a big stick before they could do anything besides make all 3 of us crap ourselves. My sister-in-law got circled by dingus there and they herded her into the water. Luckily someone was walking along and chased them off. Being swooped by magpies and even plovers. They are very territorial and annoying as frick. When they swoop they don't generally hit you but get close enough for you to hear them swoop next to your head. That's literally the worst thing about spring. Usually they won't hit you, but I've definitely been hit before and it ain't fun lmao. Hubby and a couple of mates were swimming in the dam in their jocks when someone yelled out crocodile, but it was an 8-foot black snake swimming out after them on top of the water. Hubby went back to the gum tree to get his clothes and the black snake had curled up next to their pile of clothes. They walked about 2 miles back home in wet jocks, barefoot. The 3 of them went back on the tractor with a shotgun but couldn't find the snake. He also reckons he saw a black panther in the bush, but I'm skeptical. In bed, felt something scutter over my chest, turned on the light, saw nothing. Then as I went to turn the light off saw a giant freaking huntsman crawl under the mattress. I was so tired that I left it, but it still freaks me the frick out. Giant freaking huntsman, just left it. I love how casual that is. I would be stripping to my undies, smearing ketchup war paint on my cheeks and grabbing my chopstick harpoon. I was bathing in a river when I saw a snake get into the water a few meters away, and it was coming towards me, and it could swim a lot better than I could. Now snakes are bad enough when you can run away, but can't really do that in this situation. So I pee myself as the snake passed beside me and got out of the river on the other side. And then I decided swim time, and really all time in the bush, was over. The snake passed beside me and got out of the river on the other side. We can build bridges. Jordan, sorry for not having opposable thumbs. My cat decided to bring a live baby snake into the house. Thanks Bailey. Was down at a lodge by a lake with some friends and we brought 1 girl's 2 dogs. Big dogs. Bri-ras. Anyway, it was evening and the dogs start going crazy, so we look outside to see what's going and there's a whole mob of kangaroos. Like at least 15 all just standing in the trees near our little lodge. IDK how, but one of the dogs opened the gate and they both went running after the roos. Fully chasing them, going wild, barking and crap. Me and my friends had to sprint after the kangaroos to try and get the dogs back. The dogs somehow cornered them but weren't moving no matter how much we called them, so we had to go up to the roos to get the dogs. Had a stare off with one of them. Was crap scared, full thought it was gonna punch me in the face. Bloody terrifying. I'd say that time I took off my gumboot that I had been wearing without socks, and a redback spider crawls right out of it. I'm not even sure how I managed to not get bitten that whole time my bare naked foot was sharing a space with it in close quarters. 2 for me, walking through scrubland at the height of summer in flip-flops. I wasn't paying attention and almost tread on a tiger snake. Never ran so fast in my life. When I was 7 I heard what I thought was a Tasmanian devil outside my window. Turns out the blood-curdling sounds from depths of heck were actually 2 possums mating. Didn't call them thongs, not a real Aussie. I live in Sydney, so none, unless you count a shark alarm at Bondi Beach once, or include huntsman spiders deciding to be in the most inconvenient places, like chilling between my car door handle, in my letterbox, perched above my shower, etc. It's just inappropriate behavior on their half. I mean, I saw a snake once on holidays, but it was just a diamond snake, not one of the deadly ones. See, I'm from the UK, and if I see a snake, it's a freaking snake to me. I don't think it's one of the non-deadly ones. I'm out. Man, imagine having to always be on your toes, on the lookout for big frick-off spiders. I was swimming at the beach and was heading out on my boogie board to catch a wave. The waves were huge and the water was crystal clear. I was diving under the waves that were breaking when all of a sudden, as the next wave rose in front of me, I saw it. The biggest freaking jellyfish I've ever seen in my goddamn life. It was inside the wave, right in front of me, and I was being drawn in. I froze for a second, then just turned around and paddled like a freaking maniac. I went over the wave but just kept paddling. Made it to shore and I was done for the day. Actual scariest. Hitting a wombat while driving. Could have seriously fricked up the car, although fortunately for me, my passengers and the car I hit it at 20 km per hour after slamming the brakes. This still wasn't fortunate for clump of fuzz, which became a pile of blood and muscle and bones and skin on the road. Funniest, 2005, me and NGF are camping. I'm sound asleep. There's a commotion that almost wakes me up. I'm in a deep daze. A wombat has forced its way into our tent, and my ex, who was much more awake than me at this point, is kicking the heavy fuzzball to try to extricate it from the tent. She's strong, but wombats are built of solid muscle and are hard to budge. Eventually it gets the point and fricks off just as I'm waking up. Life lesson. Food is to be locked in the car always. Driving home in the territory at night, saw a snake stretched across the road, like, across the road, 4 meters long, maybe more, and the shoulder was too muddy to get around it. I got out, took the flag off my car, mining vehicle, had a 2-meter fiberglass pole for a safety flag, and tried to poke this thing to make it move. No reaction. Actually tried to physically shove it off with the pole, but couldn't get purchase. It hadn't moved, so I figured it was either dead or maybe asleep, so I went to the non-bitty end, thinking I could tug it off the road. The second I touched its tail, the head rears up a good meter off the ground. I stumble back a couple of steps and this thing just stays like that, this grapefruit-sized head swaying a bit. I circle round to the car and climb in, and the thing just unhurriedly slithers into the bush. Touching that snake could have been the last thing I ever did. That thing was easily big enough to wrap me up. Frick the animals. Oz has the gimpy tree. Google it. It is proof that God hates us. One guy accidentally used it as toilet paper. He shot himself. Not me, but one of my good Australian friends had some emus in his backyard and he came back to the mic and said, "Frickin' emus, I swear third time I hit one with a rock this week." Me and my Canadian friend was dying after hearing this and we lost the game because of laughing. You have been visited by the Inspector Doggo. Comment your confession. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.